Hi everyone. Let's take a look at some of these questions from the practice test. Okay, so I've just taken screenshots from Desmos and I'm just going to show the solutions on here. And then I'll post this sort of file of all the solutions on the hub as well. Okay, so here we're asking us to use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of the unknown side n, and we want it to 1 decimal place. So you're going to have to show your rough work in the sketch box here. Okay, so we'll be using the a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, in this case, this will be my a, my b, and my c. Okay, so I would type in 2.2 squared plus 5.8 squared into a scientific calculator. Okay, so you can use Desmos, you could use an actual physical calculator if you like, but you're going to have to sort of use a calculator for that step there. So when I type 2.2 squared plus 5.8 squared into my Desmos calculator, I get 38.48, and that's going to equal c squared. Now I don't want c squared, I want sort of just c by itself, so I need to take the square root of both sides. Okay, so if we take the square root of that, on the left hand side we're going to be left with c, or sorry, on the right hand side we're left with c, and on the left hand side we're left with 6.2. Okay, so we wanted it rounded to 1 decimal place, and so in this text box here I would just type 6.2, and since the question was they gave us the measurements in centimeters, I would put centimeters for that. Okay, so I've rounded to 1 decimal place and I've used the correct units, and I showed my work in the sketch box. So I'm good to go on to the next question. Question 2, I'm asking you to evaluate the cosine of 5 degrees. So again, you're just going to go into a scientific calculator and type in the cosine of 5 degrees. Now some calculators you need to hit the 5 button first, then hit the cos, then hit equals. So make sure you figure out how to do that on your calculator. But when I type cosine of 5 into a scientific calculator, I'm going to get 0.99619 and I took a lot of decimal places there. Now the question asked me to evaluate to 4 decimal places. So that means I'm going to go to that spot there. Now the next number is a 9, so I need to round that 1 up. So my rounded answer to 4 decimal place for the cosine of 5 is 0.9962. Okay, so that's what I would type in this text box here as my answer. Okay, go on to the next question, which is going to be similar. Okay, so we're just evaluating sine of 20 degrees. Okay, so in a scientific calculator, if I type sine of 20, I'm going to get something like 0.34202. Okay, we want to round to 4 decimal places. That next number is lower than 5, so I don't need to round up. I don't need to change that. So I could just type in 0.3420 for that answer. Okay, next question, they're asking us to evaluate tan of 74 degrees. So when I type that into a calculator, tan of 74, that's going to equal 3.48741. And to 4 decimal places, I want to get to that 4. The number beside it is a 1, so we don't need to round up. So I could just type for my final answer 3.4874. Okay, next question. Here, I want you to write the three ratios for angle A in the table. Okay, so we're sort of focusing on angle A. So in your sketch box, you might want to draw sort of your little triangle here with the sides. And then we're going to label it. That's the hypotenuse. Okay, since it's relative to angle A, side 12 is going to be our opposite, and this is going to be our adjacent. Okay, so sine of A, remember from SOHCAHTOA, is opposite over hypotenuse, which would be 12 over 13. Okay, so I've got 12 for my O, 13 for my H. So in the ratio part here, I would just do 12, I would do 12 over 13. Okay, or 12 divided by 13. And when you type that into Desmos, it might automatically kind of do a quick calculation for that. Cosine of angle A is going to be Ka from SOHCAHTOA, so that's A over H. Okay, so in this case, I'm going to be doing 5 divided by 13. So 5 divided by 13 for that ratio. Okay, and then tan is our final trig ratio, TOA, which is O over A. Okay, so O is 12 and A is 5, so we're going to write 12 over 5 for this last ratio. Okay, so just make sure you label those sides correctly in that first step, and then use SOHCAHTOA to help you remember those trig ratios. On the next question here, we need to find the length of side x to 1 decimal place. Okay, so we're going to be using our trig ratios again in this case. So this is my hypotenuse. They've given us this angle here, 17, so across from that is going to be my opposite side, and then the other side is going to be my adjacent. Now what have they given me in the question? They've given me 14 millimeters and I want to find x. So I need to use the tan ratio that has O and A, which is the tangent. So I'm going to be using the tangent, TOA, of 17 degrees is equal to the opposite side divided by the adjacent side. And that's why I chose tan, because that's what we have. Okay, our opposite side is x, and our adjacent side is 14. So I will have tan of 17 equals x over 14. Okay, and we do sort of that cross-multiplying trick. And we'll basically have sort of 1 times x, which is just x. And that's going to equal 14 times tan of 17. So 14 times tan of 17 degrees. Okay, so I want to type that into a scientific calculator. So I'll do 14 times tan of 17. Okay, and I get x is equal to 4.28. Okay, now they asked us to round to 1 decimal place. So 4.28 is 2 decimal places. So I need to round that 2 up because this is bigger than 5. So we're going to round this to 4.3. Okay, so for my final answer, I would type in 4.3, and I would use the same units, millimeters, from that question. All right, last one here. Here we're going to be using similar triangles, okay, to find the height of this tree. Okay, so in your sketch box, you're just going to sort of show me these two triangles. I've got 3 and 4, and then we've got sort of another triangle over here, 15, and this height h, right? We don't know the height of that tree. So I'm going to build my ratio using the corresponding sides. So h and 3 are corresponding sides, so I do h divided by 3. And then my 15 and 4 are my other corresponding sides. Okay, so I'd write 15 over 4. Okay, so remember that h and 3, they're together, and that 15 and 4 are together, right, because they're corresponding sides. We're going to cross multiply here. Okay, so I'll be left with 4 times h, which is 4h, and that's going to equal 15 times 3, which is 45. Okay, and then if I want to get h by itself, I have to divide that by 4. I have to divide both sides by 4. Okay, so h is going to equal sort of 45 over 4. And if we do that in a calculator, 45 divided by 4 is 11.25. Okay, now they wanted us to round to 1 decimal place. So if we're going to round to 1 decimal place, we want to round to where that 2 is. The number beside 2 is a 5, so we have to round up. So we're going to have 11.3. Okay, so 11.3, and they gave us meters in the question, so my answer is going to be meters. Okay, so again, on this test, if you'd like full marks, you need to show me the work, and you need to show me your answer. Okay, same thing here. I need to see the work, I need to see your answer. Here, I need to see some sort of indication that you know these ratios, and I need to see your answers in the table. For this one, you don't really need to show me this calculation. I just want to make sure that that's rounded correctly to 4 decimal places, okay? Same thing with this. Just make sure that's rounded correctly and make sure that one is rounded correctly. Okay, and then in this first one, I need to see your work and I need to see your final answer. Okay, so that's it for sort of the review. If